iOS 14.5 is a massive update, and it comes with this new purple live wallpaper specifically designed for the new iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 mini purple editions. But folks, this wallpaper is just the tip of the iceberg and what is perhaps the biggest, or at least one of the biggest dot releases we've ever seen in the iPhone's history. If you appreciate this video, leave me a thumbs up and hit subscribe for more videos like this. But first, a word from our sponsor. iMazing is the Swiss Army knife for iOS device management for Mac and Windows. Use it to make time machine style wireless backups and easily transfer documents, media, and content. Explore system files, access device and battery diagnostics, and more. And here's what's important. All your data stays local on your computer or the drive of your choice. Backups can be encrypted for maximum privacy. With iMazing, you can dig into your iPhone or iPad's backup history and browse your photo library without syncing and export multiple versions. You can even save and export WhatsApp chats and iOS messages. And it's all ready for Apple's latest software and hardware. It's no wonder why iMazing is the most popular all-purpose iPhone and iPad manager for Mac and PC. For a limited time, get 30% off iMazing by clicking the link in the description. Special thanks to iMazing for sponsoring 9 to 5 Mac. So one of the new features that you'll find in iOS 14.5 is the new also available section under Settings, General Software Update. So you can see here the software update page. At the bottom, notice you see also available. So what this does, basically, it's a new feature that allows you to update your iOS or iPadOS device to the latest release candidate without removing the beta profile. Now, I'm already running the iOS 14.5 release candidate, which is the same build as the iOS 14.5 final version. So in other words, it's not going to present me with a new 14.5 download, but I can continue on the beta train with 14.6. Now, in iOS 14.5, one of the biggest new features is the ability to unlock your iPhone with Apple Watch while wearing a face mask. So in the age of COVID, this is such a huge help for iPhone users that also wear an Apple Watch while out and about. So as you can see here under Settings, Face ID and passcode, all you need to do is enable your Apple Watch under the Unlock with Apple Watch heading, and then you'll get the pop-up that explains how Apple Watch Unlock works. So basically only works when using a mask. So you just tap on Turn On, and it turns on. You see the switch is enabled. So now it's just a matter of holding up your iPhone while wearing a face mask, and you can see on the Apple Watch, it unlocks. Just like that. So super simple, super easy, and you can actually lock your iPhone from the Apple Watch itself, which will require you to put in your passcode. So such a nice feature to have in the age of COVID where we're all still wearing masks. Now for quite some time now, iPhone users have been able to long press on an emoji character to select different skin tones, just like that. So I can choose a darker skin tone or a lighter skin tone based on my personal preference, just like that. Now, the cool thing about iOS 14.5 is that you can now do this for couples. Now here on my iPhone 12 mini, I'm actually running iOS 14.4, and you can see when I long press on a couple, I don't get an option to choose a skin tone. But here on iOS 14.5, I do. Watch what happens. When I long press, now you get the option to configure different skin tones for the couple. So I can choose this one here, a lighter, and then a darker, or vice versa, or however I want to configure this thing, I can do so just like that. And once you've configured the desired skin tones for your couple, you simply tap on it like this. And now from then on, simply tapping on it will present that couple skin tone combination, which is really nice. Now there are also some brand new emoji characters. For instance, the new mending heart emoji. Now here's hoping that you guys and gals don't have a use for that emoji character. I hope everything's well with you all. But in the case of a broken heart, this is definitely a great descriptor of that. Now, there's also the burning heart emoji. And we'll just search for that one using the handy emoji search. So burning heart, there we go. All right, so this is what the burning heart looks like. Basically the opposite of the mending heart. And so that is a new emoji character in iOS 14.5. Now, there's also an updated emoji character for the syringe, which was formerly filled with what looked like blood. But now in the age of COVID, where everyone's getting vaccines, I just got mine the other day. I'm actually pretty sick from it still, but still no regrets there. But as you can see, that's the old version of the syringe. And yeah, so I appreciate the new version. Now, there are some brand new features in the Find My app, most notably the new Items tab that allows you to keep track of your everyday items using AirTags. So, of course, AirTags just launched. I should be getting mine this Friday, hopefully. What about you guys? Did you order AirTags? Let me know down below in the comment section your thoughts, how you plan on using them, etc. We'll have much more coverage on AirTags coming soon. Now, you simply tap Add AirTag, you pull the little tab on the tag itself, and then hold it next to your iPhone, and it will add that to the Find My app. So it's super easy to add AirTags. But the cool thing is that AirTags aren't the only thing you can track via Find My. If you tap Add Item, you'll notice at the bottom you see Other Suggested Item. So there are other products that aren't AirTags that work with the Find My app, such as the Van Moof X3 and S3 electric bikes. And I actually have one. I'm going to be reviewing that pretty soon. So if you're looking forward to that, leave me a thumbs up and let me know. And then you can also search for items. So that's super simple. So if you stumble on an AirTag while out and about, you can actually find out more information about its owner and hopefully get in contact with the owner to return that. Now, as far as safety and security is concerned, there's item safety alerts. So what this will do is that the Find My app will actually send you a notification saying, hey, there's an unknown AirTag on your person and it's been following you around. So the purpose of that is to prevent unscrupulous bad actors from placing an AirTag, say in your backpack, and tracking you without your knowledge. So you would definitely want to keep this safety feature on. Now, if you're not an iPhone user, then an unknown AirTag will actually make an audible alert to let you know that it's on your person as well. One of the standout features in iOS 14.5 are the new Siri voices. There are 2 new Siri voices for the American English accent. So if you go to Settings, Siri and Search, and then go to Siri Voice, you're going to see 4 voices under the voice heading instead of just 2. And voice 2 and 3 are the new voices under the American English accent. Listen in.
I'm Siri. Choose the voice you'd like me to use. Hi, I'm Siri. Choose the voice you'd like me to use. Hi, I'm Siri. Choose the voice you'd like me to use. Hi, I'm Siri. Choose the voice you'd like me to use. Hi, I'm Siri. Choose the voice you'd like me to use.
Tell me a story.
Okay, let's hear the bear side of the Goldilocks story, and you get to choose the ending. Hi, I'm Siri. Choose.
Tell me a story.
Okay, let's hear the bear's side of the Goldilocks story, and you get to choose the ending.
Also, you'll find that when you set up iOS for the first time and you're not restoring from a backup, you're going to get the ability to choose a voice upon setup. In other words, Siri no longer defaults to a female voice.
I'm Siri. Choose the voice you'd like me to use. You can change it later in settings. Hi, I'm Siri. Choose the voice you'd like me to use. You can change it later in settings. Hi, I'm Siri. Choose the voice you'd like me to use. You can change it later in settings. Hi, I'm Siri. Choose the voice you'd like me to use.
In iOS 14, the Show Apps Behind Siri option was enabled by default. Basically, what this means is that you can invoke Siri while maintaining context as to where you are within iOS. So for instance, if I'm on the Safari browser, I'm visiting 9to5Mac, I invoke Siri, it doesn't make Siri full screen and block out everything else. So I can still know that I'm on 9to5Mac's website. Well, Type to Siri has adopted the same look and feel. So you're no longer full screen when using Type to Siri like you used to on iOS 14.4 and below, just like this. See how it's full screen, takes your context away. You don't even know where you were before that. Well, now in 14.5, notice what happens when I invoke Type to Siri. You see? You still maintain context. I still know I'm in the Settings app when I'm using Siri, or I still know I'm in Safari when I'm using Type to Siri. Handy new update adds consistency across the Siri experience. Now you also get an updated messages interface when sending messages via Siri. So you can see some subtle differences there, and let's compare the two and see how they look side by side. So here it is, 14.4 on the left, 14.5 on the right. Now in iOS 14.5, you're going to see under Siri and search settings, you see announce call, so that appears there. Of course, announce calls is also under the phone setting in the settings app. But the real cool thing is that you now have the ability to answer or decline calls without saying, hey, you know who, when an incoming call comes in and you're wearing eligible headphones. So if you're wearing second generation AirPods, or AirPods Max or certain Beats headphones, you can answer or decline calls without saying, hey, you know who, when an incoming call arrives. So let's test it out with the AirPods Max.
Call from Jeff Benjamin. Answer it.
Answer it. And you can see it answers the call just like that. All I had to say was answer it. I could also say decline it, and it would decline the call as well. Now, Apple just launched a new Siri Remote with its brand new Apple TV 4K, and the glyph in the control center has been updated to showcase that new remote. You can see Apple TV Remote here, and you see the new glyph with the new click wheel, and the various other buttons, the power button on that new remote. And let's compare them side by side, the old glyph versus the new glyph, old on the left, new on the right. Speaking of Apple TV, you'll find a new color calibration tool that works with iOS 14.5. So in Apple TV settings, just go to video and audio, like this, and then go down to calibration, which is a heading under video and audio settings. And then you'll see color balance. So select color balance, and with the help of an iPhone running iOS 14.5, Apple TV will measure and adjust your television's color balance with the idea of making the colors appear more accurate. Now, this will not work with a Dolby Vision enabled television, so if you have Dolby Vision enabled, you should be already good to go. So I've disabled Dolby Vision on this TV here, and now I'm holding the iPhone up with the Face ID sensor facing the television to measure and make appropriate changes to the color balance. And there we go. So now you can view the results and get a before and after visualization of the changes made with the color balance. So you can see use balance, use original. So there's the original, there's the balanced color. Obviously the balanced color looks better, warmer colors, much more natural looking. What do you guys think? Now, as you guys know, I'm a big fan of the Shortcuts app. I love the random wallpaper shortcut that I created using the set wallpaper action. But now there are new actions within 14.5, like the take screenshot action that does just as its name states, takes a screenshot of the device's screen. So you come up with some very innovative shortcuts for that. And there's also a new set orientation lock shortcut action. And just as its name states, allows you to turn on or off the orientation lock on your device. So you can lock it in a portrait mode and unlock it. Now there's also a new set voice and data shortcut action, and that is very interesting because this allows you to adjust the voice and data modes of your iOS device and the SIM cards inside that iOS device. So let's actually look at that shortcut a little deeper here so you can see the various options available. So you can set voice and data mode. You can switch between LTE, 5G auto, or 5G on. But you can also choose between your primary and secondary SIM card as well if you have multiple SIMs in your iPhone. Now here's another new feature in 14.5. When you boot your iPad up in landscape mode, look at the Apple logo. It's properly oriented in horizontal mode whenever you power your iPad up while in landscape mode. So obviously here connected to the Magic Keyboard, it's in landscape mode and that Apple logo displays accordingly. Now have it in portrait mode here and the Apple logo displays properly as well. So the Apple logo takes its orientation from the way the iPad is rotated during the initial boot up. So if you boot it up in landscape, the Apple logo is going to appear in landscape and vice versa. iOS 14.5 contains a notable cellular connectivity update. On previous versions of iOS 14, you couldn't have 5G connectivity enabled with dual SIM setups. But now, as you'll see here in iOS 14.5, you can have a dual SIM setup and have 5G enabled on both of those SIM cards at the same time. So let me show you what I mean here. We're going to disable the Wi-Fi connection. So we can fail over to cellular and you can see 5G connectivity enabled. And right next to the 5G icon in the status bar, you see the dual SIM icon indicating that I have both SIMs enabled with 5G enabled. Now in iOS 14.5, there are absolutely tons of Apple Music updates, so we're just going to take these one by one. First and foremost though, something that I thought was really cool, animated artist pages. So you have at the top of the artist page an animated sort of wallpaper or profile picture, if you will, and you can compare iOS 14.4 on the left, iOS 14.5 on the right, but still there's not a lot of artists out there with those animated wallpapers just yet. Now, another thing you'll notice is the new Made for You section in the library. You can enable or disable that if you want to, and basically what that contains is all of the Made for You playlists that you have added to your library. So if you add the chill mix, for instance, that will appear under Made for You as well. But just go back in there like that, and there's where you can find all those playlists. Now, you'll also notice the complete full release date for an album down to the day. So you can see there, February 7th, 2020. So now you get the exact release date down to the day for albums and songs. And that's not all. Now Apple Music gains support for record labels, so you can display all the songs or albums released under a specific label. So at the bottom of this album here, you can see record label College Music. I can tap on there, and then I get a profile page for that record label with all the music they've released underneath. So you can see the little header picture at the top for the record label, and then you see the top releases. You scroll down a little bit, you see an about section, gives you some details of that record label, and then you see the latest releases as well. So that's just nice. If you have a favorite label that releases some of your favorite tunes, this is the place to go. Now, another thing you'll notice in 14.5 that is super handy, and I don't understand why it ever left to begin with, but you now have a scrolling metadata view on the lock screen again. So this used to be a thing, and then it was removed, and now it's back. So you no longer get that truncated view of metadata on the lock screen. Now you also notice tons of little adjustments and tweaks to the music app interface. For instance, you now get a little ellipsis button next to each song that allows you to access options via a nice quick and easy popover, whereas you had a long press on the song before to get those options. You also notice that sheets have been replaced by pop-ups, which are a lot quicker to display than having that sheet come up from the bottom of the screen. The pop-up menus are just easier, they're quicker, and they just are more consistent with the rest of the interface. And now you'll also see the ability to use swipe gestures. This is probably one of my favorite updates in 14.5, but now you can use swipe gestures to play next or play last, just like that. And if you use a long gesture like this, it automatically goes to play next, which is really cool for managing queuing. And as expected, you can also swipe to the left. So let's do that right now. So if I swipe to the left, I can add to the library. So that gives a little plus sign. I just tap that plus sign, or just long swipe to automatically add to the library. And then let's try it again. If I swipe again, now you can see I can download the song or delete it from my library. If I long swipe, it automatically downloads. And notice the updated little download indicator, much smaller and sleeker here on iOS 14.5. And as you saw, it's also worth noting that you get an indicator showcasing when a track is downloaded on 14.5 as well. So, what do you guys think about these changes and tweaks to the music app? But there's more. Now in the music app, you get the ability to share lyrics. And that's a really cool feature because it's not just sharing the lyrics of the song in a text file, right? But here you can actually tap and select the lyrics that you wish to share from the song. And it's limited to 150 characters. So if you try to share more than that, it's going to ask you to replace some lyrics first. But what's really cool about this is that when you share to the Messages app, or to Instagram even, those lyrics will be displayed, and you can actually pick up the song right from where those lyrics begin. So let me just show you how this works here. So I'm going to share to the Messages app here, and you can see you get a nice little card that displays the lyrics. It also displays the song title, the artist, and then when you tap on those lyrics, look what happens. It takes you right to the song. And I think it's still a little bit on the kind of finicky side here, but if I tap on the song begins right where you shared the lyrics, which is really cool. But again, like I said, you can also share to Instagram stories. So if I just select Instagram there to share, it's going to create a story. And again, it's going to show those lyrics and then link to that song within Apple Music. Now, like the music app, the podcast app gets some significant updates in 14.5. And coming in iOS 14.6, Apple is launching podcast subscriptions. And that was all detailed at Apple's recent event where they revealed the AirTags. So if you want more details on that, check below in the description. But the things that are new here in the podcast app are multifaceted. So you'll see right here a brand new show page with the really nice header at the top with the album artwork. And then you'll see all your episodes below that. And you'll notice tons of little tweaks and changes within the podcast app, but we'll just talk about a few here. So like the music app, there are now swipe gestures that you can perform right on each episode. So for instance, if I swipe right like this, I can mark an episode as played or unplayed. And if I swipe left, I can remove a download. I can save a podcast episode just like that. Super simple, super easy. Now, another change that has come to the podcast app is the fact that when you tap on an individual episode, instead of just playing that episode, it'll actually take you to the details of that episode. So just like that, now it takes me to the details of the episode. If I want to play it, I can tap the play button at the top, of course, or I can tap the little play button in the bottom left-hand corner of each episode right here, just like that. So again, subtle tweaks, but I think these changes culminate into a podcast app that is significantly better. You'll also notice an updated library page with new glyphs, a new edit button up there with the popover menu that allows you to add a new station, etc. And then you'll see recently followed. So you see that, not subscribed, but the nomenclature for the podcast changes from subscribed to follow. So now you don't subscribe to a podcast, you follow a podcast within the podcast app. So if I tap up here, I can unfollow the show. Of course, I'm not going to want to do that because it's an excellent show. But the thought process behind this is that Apple is launching its podcast subscription service with iOS 14.6. So this will prevent users from being confused as far as what it means to actually subscribe to a podcast versus signing up for the podcast subscription service. And there's also a new search interface that mimics the new search interface in the music app, in the TV app, and also in Apple News, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but it gives you categories. So if you don't know exactly the show title, you can at least drill down to the various categories of a show that you might be interested in. Let's talk about the Reminders app. Have you ever noticed how you could only sort a list manually in the Reminders app? Well, yeah, that's super annoying, right? But now in 14.5, you can actually sort a list by various criteria. So, of course, you can still sort manually, but if you tap sort by, you can see manual, due date, creation date, priority, title, and even ascending or descending once you sort by those various parameters. So if I sort by creation date, I can sort by ascending or descending, or in this case, oldest first or newest first. And if I go back in and sort by this time priority, for instance, then if I go back in there, ascending and descending will change to lowest first or highest first. So you see how that works? But not just that, now in iOS 14.5, you can actually print a list just like this. So I'm gonna just tap print there to my AirPrint printer, and look what I get here once it's completed. Yep, there's my list printed out just like that, courtesy of 14.5. And Apple Fitness Plus users will be happy to know that you can now AirPlay workouts to an eligible AirPlay 2 destination. So you can see I have my two Apple TVs. So we have Office TV and living room. So I'm going to choose Office TV. And there we go, AirPlaying directly to this TV, and I get all of my metric data there. Now, if it's not an Apple TV that you're AirPlaying to, you're not going to get the metric data. So just keep that in mind, because this is actually using basically the fitness app on the Apple TV to provide this view with the metric data assets on screen. So just keep that in mind. Now, the Maps app gets redesigned guides in iOS 14.5. So you can see the little difference there. You get the full bleed header at the top. You get some updated buttons as well. So, I mean, that's a pretty nice little update there. Not major, but still nice nonetheless. And here's a big one for next-gen console owners. As of iOS 14.5, the Sony Dual Sense wireless controller and the latest and greatest Xbox controller with that updated D-pad and the share button for the Xbox Series S and X have now been added to iOS 14.5. So you can use these with your iPhone, with your Apple TV, with your iPad, and it works just as you would expect. So with the recent update to the Apple Arcade, this is a much appreciated new addition, and it's safe to say that these two controllers are among the best iPhone-compatible controllers on the market. So to pair your DualSense controller, you just hold the PlayStation button just like this, keep holding it, and then you'll get a pop-up, and then just tap pair, and it's paired. Couldn't be any simpler than that. So now you can play all your favorite Apple Arcade titles like NBA 2K21 Arcade Edition, which I'm horrible at, but nonetheless, you can control it there with your PlayStation DualSense controller. Let's go through here and select a couple of players. And you can see, let's get on the court and let's get some action going here and show you how terrible I am. And pairing the Xbox controller is just as simple. So you hold the pairing button, you tap it, you tap pair, and yeah, you're good to go. So same thing. Let's go ahead and play some 2K. And I am so weak at this game, it's crazy. What's your favorite Apple Arcade title? Let me know down below in the comments. iPhone 11 users gain access to a new battery recalibration tool in iOS 14.5, and I've highlighted that in its own separate video, and I'll have that link down below. But basically, battery recalibration is a tool that will recalibrate your iPhone's battery to provide accurate maximum capacity and peak performance capability readings. And that's useful because that can actually affect the performance of your battery. So if you're experiencing less than stellar battery performance on your iPhone 11, then I definitely recommend going to Settings, Battery, and Battery Health and running this recalibration tool. Again, I recommend watching the full video that I did on this for more details on how it all works. And as mentioned, there's a new dedicated search tab in the News app. So you can see 14.4 on the left, 14.5 on the right. You see the search option. So if I tap that, then I can get to the search interface, which allows me to search for channels, topics, or stories. So let's just type in something random here. How about Apple? And there we go. So we get the top result. We get stories below that. And then we'll have topics, and we'll also have channels. So this is the big one. As of today, app tracking transparency is now being enforced by Apple. So when you go to settings and you go to privacy in iOS 14.5, of course, you're going to see where it says tracking below location services. And tracking allows you to control whether or not apps track you based on various data points. So if you tap on tracking, you're going to see the ability to enable or disable tracking, either globally or on an app-by-app basis. So the big difference here is that this is actually being enforced by Apple as of today. So what does this actually mean? Should you even care? Well, tap Learn More, and basically Apple requires app developers to ask permission before they track your activity. And they're, like I said, enforcing this as of today. So if they track your activity, they must ask for permission. Now, as a user, you have the option to give permission for your activity to be tracked. And they can track things like email address, advertising identifier, your name, or other data provided by you. Now, this data can be used for things like ad targeting to provide you with targeted ads that are relevant to you, but it can also be used to share with data brokers, which can create sort of like a fingerprint based on all these various points of data. Now, you can also decline to give apps permission to track your activity, and this will prevent developers from accessing your device's advertising identifier. Now, it's important to note that there are some activities that aren't technically considered tracking. For instance, sharing information for the purposes of reporting on your credit activity or to obtain information on your credit worthiness. Those things are not considered tracking. And this sort of thing can be used for fraud protection, for instance, or for security purposes, things like that. So you can read all about that in the Learn More section under tracking. Now, with iOS 14.5, Apple's putting some of the power back in the hands of the users. We now have the option to outright disallow tracking from these applications. You can either do so globally or you can do so on an app by app basis. I'm going to show you that right now. So you see I have allowed apps to request to track. So if you've allowed apps to request to track, then once you launch an app that tracks your data, such as the NBA app that use it for targeted advertising, then you're going to get a prompt asking you to allow it to track your activity across other companies' apps and websites. So you have the option to ask not to track or to allow tracking. And they also give like a little description there as to how they use this information. So it says your data will be used to provide you with a better and personalized ad experience. So I asked it not to track. Now, when you go back into settings, you're going to see the NBA app appears there under tracking, but it's disabled. Now I can re-enable it if I want to, just like that. Now, when I disable the allow apps to request to track, look what happens. Something interesting happens here. So it's going to give me two options. I can allow apps to continue tracking, the ones I have enabled, in this case, the NBA app, or I can ask apps to stop tracking. So basically, I chose the first option. That's going to leave NBA enabled, but it's not going to allow any other apps going forward to request to track. But if I turn that back on and turn it back off, I can ask all apps to stop tracking, including the ones that I've already allowed, just like that. So all of it's disabled in one fell swoop. So now when I have that disabled, you're not going to get any requests to allow tracking because you said, hey, I don't want any apps to track. So it's not going to even request, and therefore it won't track you. At least that's how it should work. We'll see how this works in the long term. But you see NBA isn't even listed there because I haven't even allowed it to request to track. So if I enable that and I launch the app again, now look, it asked me to track my data. So this time I'm going to say, hey, no, don't track me, please. And if I go back to settings, you're going to see NBA is there, but disabled. And then finally, Apple launches Apple Card Family, enabling families to share Apple Card and build credit together. So you can see the updated family interface and individual spending. And there's a lot of other benefits besides being able to share a single Apple Card. So we'll run through some of those now. First of all, you can have up to 5 people per Apple Card account. All users must be a part of the same family sharing group. Now, if a shared user is over the age of 18, they can be a co-owner, providing the opportunity to build credit history together, combine limits, and provide transparency into each other's spending. And Apple Card can also be shared with younger family members, and their parents can get transparency and insight into their purchases and control their purchase limit. And then all activity will be reported to credit bureaus for participants who opt in to credit reporting, as well as Apple Card co-owners. And if you already have multiple card accounts, you can merge those, giving flexibility and a higher shared credit limit while keeping a lower APR. And the good news is that co-owners and participants will receive daily cash for their Apple Card purchases. And keep in mind that Goldman Sachs has the final say as far as eligibility and credit decisions are concerned. So, ladies and gentlemen, that has been a look at iOS 14.5. I think you will agree that it lived up to its expectations. This is a massive release with tons of new features. What do you guys think? Let me know down below in the comments section. And shout out to our friends at iMazing. Special thanks to iMazing for sponsoring 9 to 5 Mac. iMazing is made by Apple fans, and it's already fully compatible with iOS 14, iPadOS 14, and it's ready for macOS, Big Sur, and Apple Silicon. Use it to do things like easily transfer music and videos to your devices, or download and install iOS apps and manage an app library right on your desktop. Click the link in the description to get 30% off iMazing for a limited time.